Members of the House have voted to approve legislation that would create a bipartisan panel tasked with investigating the January 6th Capitol riot. The final vote was 252 to 175. But the fate of the legislation is still unclear in the evenly divided Senate. Meanwhile, the FBI has released new video from the deadly assault. CBS News congressional correspondent Kris Van Cleave reports from Capitol Hill.
Tonight, dramatic new video of January 6th rioters attacking police at the Capitol. This man using an officer's baton while hurling obscenities. And here, an attacker in a red MAGA hat wearing gloves with metal knuckles takes a swing at a D.C. police officer. These images just released by the FBI, hoping to spark new leads as key Senate Republicans come out against a 9/11-style commission to investigate the causes of the Capitol insurrection, despite the measure receiving bipartisan support in the House.
I've made the decision to oppose the House Democrats' slanted and unbalanced proposal.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi fired back.
It sounds like they're afraid of the truth.
The commission would be equally divided between Republicans and Democrats, each with subpoena power and with the direction to complete its work by the end of the year, a framework agreed to by the top Democrat and Republican on the House Homeland Security Committee.
This is about facts. It's not about partisan politics.
Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy initially backed the calls for a commission, but came out against it yesterday because it didn't also look at violence stemming from last summer's social justice protests.
This is driven solely by politics and Nancy Pelosi.
McCarthy, who could be subpoenaed by the commission over his conversations with Donald Trump, is aligning himself with the former president, who called the commission a Democrat trap. Some Republicans, like Georgia Congressman Andrew Clyde, are whitewashing the events of January 6th entirely.
To call it an insurrection, in my opinion, is a bold-faced lie.
But this picture shows Clyde helping police barricade the doors of the House chamber as rioters tried to break in. And now this letter is making its rounds on the Hill, and it is getting a lot of attention. It is unsigned from rank-and-file members of the Capitol Police, and it is scathing, saying in part it is inconceivable that some members we protect would downplay the events of January 6th. It also blasts GOP leadership for not supporting the January 6th Commission. Lana?
Kris, thank you. For more on this, I'm joined by Siobhan Hughes. She is a congressional reporter for the Wall Street Journal. Siobhan, how big of a setback is Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's opposition to this legislation?
Well, it was always going to be hard to get this bill through the Senate. We need 60 votes in a Senate that is evenly divided 50-50 between Republicans and Democrats. But it does seem that Mitch McConnell formally coming out against this bill likely spells its death now. For evidence of that, we talked to Senator Mike Rounds today. Yesterday, he had been inclined to support a bipartisan commission. Today, after Mitch McConnell came out against the bill, after Kevin McCarthy at a closed-door coffee with some Senate Republicans explained his opposition to the measure, Mike Rounds himself flipped and said he was no longer inclined. He viewed it as partisan, and you're seeing other Senate Republicans say the same thing. So this is likely to be a test vote. It is likely to put Republicans on record, but very, very unlikely to clear the Senate.
Well, some Republican senators have signaled that they disagree with McConnell, and we also just heard Kris with that scathing letter, that open letter to lawmakers that they protect. Do you think that any of this might be able to try and change people's opinions on the Republican side towards that bipartisan commission, or it's really its fate is pretty well sealed at this point?
It's hard to see a sufficient number of Republicans joining with Democrats in support of this commission. The high water mark, remember, for conviction of Donald Trump earlier this year was 7 Republicans, which still leaves us shy of the 10. Democrats are clearly going to be making a play for the police vote. But, you know, it's worth noting that the Capitol Police, the official spokespeople of that group or that union, say that they don't know who has signed that letter, and they're unclear where the majority of the police who protect that Capitol stand.
That's interesting. And some Republicans have also said that they'd like to see the commission look into violence related to the protests last summer against racism and police brutality. Is there potentially an agreement that might be made, a compromise that might be made if the scope of the panel's investigation is broadened to include that?
Well, I mean, there are kind of two issues here. Number one, does the legislation get rewritten on the Senate floor? And number two, what does the legislation that passed the House specifically allow? The way John Katko described it, it gives the commission some flexibility. The language says that the commission can investigate targeted violence and domestic terrorism relevant to such terrorist attacks. And the way Katko describes it, it would be targeted attacks. For example, the 2017 shooting of Steve Scalise at the baseball game, the attack that killed police officer Billy Evans back in April. But it seems unlikely, the way the legislation is now written, that the scope could expand to include things like violence in Portland or the Black Lives Matter protests.
All right. Before I let you go, Siobhan, former President Donald Trump has also weighed in. He called the legislation a Democratic trap. He was joining McConnell in urging GOP members in both chambers to oppose it. I'm wondering how much the lack of support on this bill from some Republicans is a reflection on how much influence Mr. Trump still has on the party.
You know, to me, it demonstrates two things. Number one, absolutely, it demonstrates the influence, the power that Donald Trump still has on the party. And Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke on the House floor tonight articulating that and basically said she thought the formation of this commission was an effort to smear both Donald Trump and his supporters. But an interesting note is that there was a jailbreak of sort on the vote tonight, and 35 Republicans joined Democrats in saying that a commission was needed to look into what happened so that the country could avoid a repeat of January 6th. 35 is a not insignificant number, and so it will be interesting to see what direction the Republican Party chooses to head.
Siobhan Hughes, thank you.
Good to be here.